And you wonder, why am I wearing stuff like that? It's just all.
All right, everyone. My name's Tim. I'm going to give you a quick little overview of our pilot that we did. Like we stated in our last presentation, our program is called Commanders. It is also a play on communications. Just a little bit overview, like we said last time, we're basically trying to be flexible with students, trying to get them more involved in our major, kind of get them to know people in their courses, increase retention rates, all that good stuff like that. You know, trying to get people excited about our major because it is a fun one. All right, so a little bit about our organization really quick. When we decided we needed to do this pilot, we kind of split our responsibilities up between the group. I kind of took the responsibility of training the mentors and kind of organizing and splitting up the responsibilities initially. We had Jenny, who's in charge of like pairing mentors and recruiting our mentors. Stephen was in charge of recruiting our mentees. In general, we only seeked out 1 or 2 mentees for this pilot just because it was kind of towards the end of the semester. We just kind of want to see how it would work with mentees just in general. We have Joel and Nick. We're both in charge of kind of like reviewing our program as a whole, making sure it was a success, what we might need to improve, stuff like that. And Jake and Paul here, they were our mentors that we ended up choosing. So that's what we did, we split responsibilities. We have regular organizational meetings to make sure things were going as planned while we were doing this. So we just kind of gave updates on our mentees, made sure they were doing okay, suggested any information to pass along, just in case like they might not have known what to tell him or how things might have worked, just to make sure everyone's on the same page and our mentee was getting the best experience possible. And then we kind of discussed as we went along things we might need to change, things that worked, things that might need to go on, since this is just a pilot. And we also talked about what was working, what we wanted to continue to do. So go to the next slide. So like I said, I was kind of in charge of mentor training. We have this beautiful new website for communication studies and corporate communications. And on that website has a bunch of information. We also shared this information with our mentee. But we kind of made sure our mentors were well versed with the website. They knew how to get to the degree map and careers that our mentees might want to go into in case they had questions about that. Make sure they knew just about every teacher and had contact information for them if we needed to contact them about our mentees and stuff like that. We also went over DegreeWorks and make sure our mentors knew how to navigate that because it is such a large part in going through your classes, what you still need to take, how you're doing, stuff like that. Making sure they knew how to navigate it well enough to give our mentee a good experience if they had questions about that. And then just in communications, setting up meeting times, ways to communicate with your mentee. It's really important, otherwise it's just not going to work out if you can't get in contact with them. And also how to relate. It's important that our mentors and mentees relate with each other. We also took more steps, which we'll go over later, to make sure that that fit was perfect. We also kind of went over how to be a good mentor, like what it takes to truly train and bring up someone else into our department. So I'm going to pass it over to Stephen about recruiting.
One of the big things that we wanted to do was be able to get people into our program. So I changed up the flyer to where it was a little less flashy, I guess, and actually it's hard to see, but I put the pull-off strips at the bottom with my email on it. So when somebody would walk by, they could pull off that strip, get my email, and then once I got their information, I would send it to Jenny, and she would get them all signed up and paired up with a mentor. We put these up in all the buildings around on the pin boards outside. Then we also put them in Towers Cafeteria, the University Center over here, all around. Another thing is like how we got our information to our mentees. I was kind of the bridge there, since I had their email. Anything that needed to be said to them, or they had any questions, they kind of went through me. And if I couldn't answer the question, I sent them to Tim. Another thing we did in the how category is how we train our mentors. That was more on their end of it. We only selected people with the 3.25 GPA, and they had the 2 semesters for the 2 semesters worth of college, and that could actually help the mentees. And then the last how is how we collected our evidence for this report. Later on, we have a video. We talked to our mentee, and he answered questions about what he thought we did well in our mentoring, what we could do better, what he liked about it, and how it helped him. But we'll watch that later.
Okay, and then I kind of designed and created the different sign-up sheets. There's one as the Commander's Mentor application, and then there's also the Mentee sign-up form. So basically what I did is I designed the sheets to comply with the different requirements that we previously stated in our initial presentation, which for mentors included being a junior or senior as a corporate communications major, having completed more than 4 full semesters as a major, and having the minimum GPA, as Stephen said, of the 3.25, and also, of course, being flexible. And then for the mentees, what we did is they must be freshmen, sophomores, or transfer students with less than 4 completed semesters as a major. And then the mentees kind of signed up based on what worked for them, which is in sync with keeping our program known for flexibility. And then kind of aside from the different requirements that we obviously had to keep in there to make sure that we could have an organized and easy way to pair the two together, we decided to add a little section, as you can see at the very, very bottom of each of the sign-up sheets is just a quick question, why you want to be mentor, and for the mentees, is there anything in particular you'd like to gain out of this mentorship? And for the mentors, it's just kind of allowed us to see a little bit more of that person and their passion on why they wanted to be an integral part of making somebody else's experience with this department better. And then for mentees, it kind of just gave us a little bit more tangible insight into what specifically they wanted to gain from the program, and that too helped us pair the mentee with the right mentor because of what other people may have experienced in their journey. And then finally, it's pretty obvious why we asked for a preferred meeting location and meeting dates. However, you might be wondering why each of the sign-up sheets ask if the student is a Greek member, just a student, or a student athlete. And this just was an easy way for us to get that information from the get-go so that we could plug it into an Excel sheet and then kind of sort through real quick to match our mentors with our mentees based on their background outside of school. So next, Jake's going to talk about how we contacted our mentee.
Okay, so like they said, me and Jamal were the mentor for him. We felt it was going to be a good fit because we knew him on the football team, so we already had that connection with him. And we go through the same things he does with athletics. So that's why we chose us. And then first, he got the flyer from Dunn, and then he signed up and got the sign-up sheet from Jenny. And then we exchanged contact information, so that's how we kept in touch with him. And then we set up meetings in the library, and they took place during Common Hour on Wednesday whenever we were out of class. And then from there, we set up a face-to-face meeting with him. And then some of the things we suggested for him to bring to the meetings were his schedule for next semester, so we can go over it and help him out with that. And then a laptop to look up classes and teachers that he should take that we took and were beneficial for us. Now Jamal is going to talk about the second part.
For the major overviews, we showed them how to work the website with the reworks, with potential majors and potential jobs, and he wanted to go into human resource, and he knew what minor he wanted to take, but we showed him potential minors. We scheduled it with a 4-year plan. Basically, like he said, we're both football players, so we know how it works. So we showed him the best way to balance out his schedule with football. Also, which courses to take in the summer that would help him out and get him a head start. And reviews for next year's schedule, we make sure his schedule is flowing right and make sure he's comfortable with everything he has going for himself, and what teachers to take and which ones are best with football players, and like I said, summer classes, which one flows, and give him a head start. Also, he did not know how to use the CMO app, so we taught him how to check his grades and course from there.
I was Charlie Broder evaluation. One of the big things that we found helpful was that we had all the members sat in on meetings, and it helped that way because not only Jamal, Jake, been done, our athletes been showing around, so like, we're very athlete heavy, and, it was easier for him to have nothing but athletes pretty much in the group, because then we could tell him, like Jamal was saying, who were athlete-friendly teachers, who would work around his schedule, because I mean, it kind of requires that flexibility sometimes. When we, we're kind of over and through with the pilot, we discussed, what worked, and we reflected on the fact that, he didn't really know how to work degree works that well. I mean, we taught him how to use it just a little bit better. On the website, they have the, for every major, they have a career sheet that says like different jobs and things like that, and we were showing him that because it kind of seemed like he didn't really know what corporate communications was. He wasn't declared yet or anything, but he was sort of thinking that's where he wanted to head. And so that helped him a lot. He said that, after all that, he wanted to declare, and he even knew what minor he wanted to take. And, he decided that it was really important to him to have athletes in the group because, it's easier to pick your classes when you know what teachers are going to help you out with your schedule and stuff. And then one of the improvements, private room meetings were beneficial because, it was easy for him to talk one-on-one with athletes. Pretty much the droning on idea in this is that, he wanted to be in a group with athletes because he thought it was very beneficial to him. Nick's got the video.
So to wrap it up, we put together a video that shows the highlights and the improvements that could be made to the program.
Over there.
It basically helped me pick athlete-friendly teachers. They can help me work around my schedule. With student athlete, I need flexibility, work around me going to practice and weight room and stuff like that. Basically give me a head start, show me what I'm getting to before I actually do it. I haven't actually declared it as my major, but I know for sure that I'm going to declare it because I actually like it. They basically gave me info on what's going on, like with the major and stuff like that. Yeah, we all play football. We on the same time schedule. So basically, the teachers have to work around their schedule, just how they have to work around mine. So yeah, it was easy too, working with them. It could change the location of the meetings, other places in the library, assurance that we can meet other places, most convenient for me. They were flexible. I do. It helped out. So I know exactly like I really want to do some major. Like I know what minor I want to go into too with the major. So what classes I wanted to get into, what teachers I should pick, and what was more convenient for me. So yeah, I think everybody should do it. I look forward to doing it when I'm a senior or junior. Yeah.
All right, that's all. Any questions of the video?
And you can still ask questions, even though they got their slides. Okay, don't forget to go on our Moodle page and get your own.
Did you want to print out our PowerPoint?
Oh, that'd be great.
And then a little packet of paper and the flyer.